we have poverty influences? Let's ask ourselves that.
Wow.
Kibera for me is, I call it, it is a university of life. University of life. And if you go through that university, there is nothing impossible.
A memoir co-authored by Jessica Posner, Kennedy's wife, and it tells a story, a transformational story from his humble beginnings in Kibera, one of Africa's largest informal settlements. Where he began, where Kennedy grew up without formal schooling, he rose to become a global voice of hope, resilience, and social change. He lived his life given not only a profound understanding of the challenges marginalized communities face, but also the conviction and the courage to do something about it. Kennedy is the founder of and CEO of Shining Hope for Communities, better known as SHOFCO. Kennedy has dedicated his life to uplifting communities, creating opportunities, and proving that determination, leadership, and vision, with all of this, poverty can be broken. His work has not only transformed lives here in Kenya, but also has earned him international recognition. In 2024, Kennedy was named among the top 100 most influential people in the world, a testament to the impact of his work. And just this year, he has become the first Kenyan to receive a prestigious UN Nelson Mandela Award 2025, joining a rare circle of leaders who embody the spirit of justice, equality, and humanity. Kennedy Odede is living proof that one individual can light the path, not only for themselves, but for entire communities. His story is one of courage, love, and the unshakable belief that no one should be defined by where they start in life. And so as we gather to celebrate and unravel his memoir, we are embracing a story that challenges us to believe in the possibility to act with compassion and to never give up on a dream of a better and more just world. This evening, we are privileged to have a distinguished panel who will help us dive deeper into Kennedy's memoir. Our moderator, who is none other than the Khainga O'okwemba, a writer, literary specialist, and the producer and host of the Books Cafe on the KBC English service. We are also joined by Tony Mochama, a celebrated journalist and award-winning author. We have broadcaster Geoffrey Mungai, as well as Jacob Okech, a journalist and author who will guide us through some of the selected readings through the books. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome our moderator, Khainga O'okwemba, to take the lead. Thank you.
So growing up in the ghetto, as most of you know, it was a really tough life, you know. So you're born there, and to be honest with you, you kind of feel that you can't make it. You look around you, you don't see something that can really make you dream big, right? First, food was scarce. To get food, you know, I remember going to Otiende there to look for food, and there was violence. And I remember there was even, apart from that, there's police brutality was going on there, you know, and when you have less, I remember the Nubians community and the Luo, and man, the bullets, and, you know, but at the same time, we have to be honest with ourselves, there was that sense of community, right? Although we were really poor in terms of materials, but we kind of knew whose child is that, right? So nobody will allow you to kind of mess up around a little bit, right? And then if you want to do something, you have to go to Lainsaba. You have to go somewhere. Kids from Lainsaba will come to Katwekera. Katwekera will go to Lainsaba. So I remember that kind of life. And the saddest part was this idea of hopelessness, right? Knowing that you cannot make it in life. And it's really sad because of why, no matter how much, no matter how smart you are, that's really pity, honestly. No matter how smart you are, you know that you can't make it. You don't have a godfather. You don't have anybody who can help you. So, as a kid, you start growing up what's called anger and hopelessness. And then when you're hopelessness, you can do anything. So that's going to be felt in the community.
Yeah. When you
talk of abject poverty, I want you to paint that picture. What was it like? Because anybody reading this book, Find Me Unafraid, you also show that there's that stratification, that there are classes, that there are those ones who are poor, and there are those ones who are very poor. And there are those classes.
Yeah. So that's ghetto life, right? So even the rich, there's the richest and the middle class, right? So I remember stories like where somebody had a job, and many people there were able to work in the factory. So some of them were able to have food, right? And some could not. I remember myself when one of our neighbors was throwing away that hard part of the bread, and I will go and eat that one, right? Or remove a mango, I will go and do that, right? So, and I remember it was a big deal, shopping. So if you're really hungry and your neighbor comes with uchumi, man, and you see the bread there, I'm like, oh God, I want that life, man. And then it was interesting, I remember those days, It is interesting about people who are hustling, right? The way people show off their cars, the rich. Also in Kibera, somebody around 6'5", you see this person now holding the uchumi paper bag. And we're all looking like, oh my God, I want that life. That is the life, So growing up, it also kind of also kills your expectation. I never looked for big jobs. I was just wanted, if I can get a job that can give me food, so that I can also go to Chumi and do a shopping, right? So it was different class. Even I remember our landlord was having his own pit latrine, right? So I grew up. There was no even bathroom. No toilet, right? But to be clear, we are not throwing it. That's another story. You have to find out to survive. But, you felt kind of like you have no hope, And honestly, poverty can also a little bit take your dignity away, right? So you have to, and people, it also makes you become more creative. I was in Kibera the other day with some of the teachers, and we were talking of that. Although I traveled to America, I've gone to Paris, other places, but up to now, there are some houses in Kibera that were so clean that I've never seen. What do I mean that? They shower inside the house. It's a 10 by 10 room. They do the duster, and you don't get in that room with your shoes. You can't get in that house by shoes, So the houses, they are poor, but the house is so clean, right? So it also creates what you call a creativity, right? On how to survive, So, and community organizing. I remember that when we call it a plot. I don't know how they call it now. The surrounding. We all meet at night one Sunday together, and we also plan how can we do. Can we try to dig a toilet? So solutions also come from there. So despite the poverty, what I also saw that kind of community, right? But no matter how hard you try, you end up falling. We have to keep on. And to share with you now, I won't call their names, but up to now, I'm still sad. I meet some of the women. As I am 41, but I think it's a lot of life in the ghetto made the gray hair, right? But you go around, and I see these women selling the same thing, the same quality, and it has not changed. And it's sad, but at the same time, they're inspiring me that they're not giving up. They can't make it, but they keep doing the same business. Up to now, I see some of them, and I'm like, wow. And that's their life. And I get inspired by them, not giving up, still selling the same things, and not enough capital, but they are not giving up. So apart from, we call Kibera, just to let you know, and I think it's in the book, Kibera for me, forget the PhD. Kibera for me is, I call it, it is a university of life. A university of life. And if you go through that university, there is nothing impossible. And that's why we are all here today.
Life, it reminds me, when you read the book and you look at Kennedy, what he's actually been able to do. For us who dwell in the Republic of Letters, writers, they say that sometimes when you write a book, there's that element of redemption, that after all this trouble, what is it that you are giving out? And in spite of all the difficulties and the hurdles and the obstacles, when you see Kennedy here, just his person is a story of inspiration. Just seeing him, because he was able to overcome those challenges to be who he is. But Kennedy, talking about education, you never had a formal, proper education. And here you are, we can engage you on this panel on the national service, KBC English service. You speak impeccable English. Where did you get your English?
That's also part of Kibera, right? So in Kibra, it was really, really hard. So as you know, Kibaki brought free education, but that was kind of late. There's a school called Olympic Primary School. It was one of the best schools, but few kids from Kibera, you couldn't get there. I used to remember some kids coming with a car, and it was a really, really tough life. But as a street boy, I was able to learn from collecting the newspapers on the street. And this is about drive, right? I think when you really want to, in life, I think there's nothing that can stop you when you really want to achieve something in life, right? So I used to see kids in uniform, and I'm like, I want to be like them, right? So it was really, really tough. But at the same time, I have a friend of mine called Rasodero. We could just sit down and talk about reggae and talk about books, right? There was no library, right? So we had that kind of anger, right? And I went to America without knowing how to use a computer. I remember those days, right, in the US. But if you come from that university called Kibera University, or Mother University, or Ghetto University, nothing was going to stop you, you know? So you have to have that anger. But the negative part of it is that I am so hardcore. Sometimes I feel that I'm not nicer to some youths who are not working hard, you know, because I see my life and I'm like, what are you doing, right? So I have to remind myself that it's my story. And to be honest with you here in this room, so my story, I also feel that that I was able to put in paper, right? Most of people in Nairobi, can we start in Nairobi? How many people live in the informal settlement? Almost over 65%, right? So they are going through this journey. So this is their story too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. I have one question for you before I bring in the journalists, and then we'll have a short interlude, some reading. We'll talk about SHOFCO in the second panel discussion. Now, this is the question, Ken, that having gone through that difficulty, you know, that nastiness, the brutality in that slum life, you thought that you could actually change your life by finding hope on the streets of Nairobi. And when you first went to the streets, you were almost killed. Okay? Yeah, you were almost killed. I want you to just very briefly to touch on that story. What was it? What really happened?
So I went through a lot, but a couple of experiences that I want to share with you. Me and my friend were so hungry, and I love this mango story. So we had a plan. So my guy will talk to this mama, and me, I'll put my hand to steal this. But they got me, and I was really beaten, almost to death. And they were saying, ooh, choma, you know? And then what really happened there, if I reflect back, is that you are dealing with people who are also kind of sad, who don't have something, you know? So they are bringing their anger into you, right? So I was met, and somebody just came in and be like, stop beating this kid, right? And then for me, that was also a turning point for me. Like, there is Angel, right? Someone saved my life. I don't remember his name. He just said, I'm a good Samaritan. And then we went, he did me some shopping, he gave me some food, and I asked, who are you? Good Samaritan, right? So you see that on your journey, you have to learn from it, right? So what happened to me on that tough life is in every situation, there are good people. There are also some good people. In anything you're going through, there are also some good people.
Is there something that the media is not doing, and what is it that the media can do? Or we engage on politics and everything? Geoffrey Mungai.
Thank you, Khainga. I think media is always a scapegoat for many things, or many failings in society. And sometimes rightly, sometimes wrongly. For me, I think it's a case of competing priorities in terms of resources and priorities, because let's say you have a rabble-rousing politician preaching fire and brimstone in one corner of the country about God knows what. You have a riot in the city, and you have a scandal breaking in parliament. So, and then you consider the media's eternal fear of being scooped. Remember, media is business. So it's a question of balancing. So what do you do as a media house? Do you take your own camera to the streets and do an investigative piece on the plight of street families, while your rivals are reporting sexy stories about politicians who are involved in scandals and who are, doing ethnic profiling and things like that. So I think it's a question that, for me, society has to grapple with, because media is part of society.
But, Mungai, I'm going to hold you for a portrait grilling there. I'm going to hold you for a portrait grilling, because you grew up at a time when we still used to have things happening, but you could still come across some very wonderful features in newspapers. They have completely vanished in our newspapers. Those very thought-provoking kind of writing that once you have this feature, now a reporter, those ones who do stories that are supposed to be the leaders, the headline stories, they'll go and now even investigate further. So as much as you are trying to defend the media as an editor and as a producer, I still think that there's a lot that the media needs to do.
I think, Khainga, you also have to consider society's sweet tooth for the controversial, for the sexy, for that which, for blood, So while the issue of, say, people living in the streets may be one that is of interest to society, it's not considered immediately newsworthy by media. It's not the kind of story that, it's the kind of story that if it comes on TV, that people take a water break or a bathroom break, while they wait for what happened in Parliament, who was insulting who, and what the president said. That's just the fact of society.
You are acquitted, Mungai. Tony, what is your take?
Yeah, I won't quite echo what my brother Mungai said, but I'll say that look at it at multiple levels. The leadership is not interested in accountability for the poor. The poor are bane, they're at the bottom. That's how revolutions are created. Even when you say all these Gen Z things, the bottom line is there are no jobs. It's the economy, stupid, as Clinton said. So they never focus on poverty. In fact, the ones from marginalized areas are the worst. Yeah? This northeastern, they're the ones building everything around here. These governors and so on. You saw what's happening in the Kericho. So that those ones are not engaged. The middle class, the shrinking, diminishing middle class, squeezed as they are, poverty is ugly. They are the people who are buying, like you're sparing, money for newspapers or still tuning into mainstream media and doing those things. Poverty is an ugly face, and it's a dark beast. For them, it's where we could go. Yeah? It's a terrifying, just beneath the substrata of, if this thing collapses, if Shah is not working and I'm sick, this could be me next. Yeah, so no one wants ever to look at that thing because it's them next. Social media, how many, on IG or TikTok, honestly, how many things do you ever see about poverty? Yeah, the mediums are not even built for that. You do that, your algorithm won't be churning out things. You'd rather just be dancing, doing, one of these dance crazes, and you're there, and that's among the youth. Okay. And do we have poverty influencers? Let's ask ourselves that.
Wow. No. I can't sell these mangoes below 10 shillings. So that means 10 is 100. Maybe I'll add one extra. I crept around the other side of the stall and began to crawl on all fours, hearing Boniface had engaged her. I snaked my hand up the back of the cart and felt my fist clenched around a precious mango. But then the woman turned around to see my small hand appear and shouted the word, the deadly word, thief. I froze. I stopped and dropped the mango instantly. My heart was pounding. I had seen people burned to death by mob justice for stealing tiny things like a mango. In this country, those who steal huge amounts of money, like from the government, don't get punished. But when you steal a mango in a crowded market from a poor man, you know you're done. People surrounded me, and I felt hands raining on my flesh. They beat me, kicked me. Boniface ran. He had to. As my small body absorbed blow after blow, everything blurring, I hoped he was safe. The mob came thick and fast. They didn't care that I was a kid, no more than 10 years old. They didn't even know what I had stolen. I heard some people asking, what did he steal? And others responding, he's a thief. I felt my rib crack, searing pain all over my small frame. I tried to grit my teeth the way I did when Bobby beat me, but there was no escape, no bracing myself to withstand the blows of so many people at once. Suddenly, the crowd parted, and someone forced his way through. I couldn't clearly see him. Everything was spinning and blood pouring from my nose, but I could vaguely make out that he was nicely dressed. I want to know what's going on in here, he shouted. Then he saw me, a curled up ball of dirt and blood. Wait, I think this is a little boy. Why are you doing this? He stepped in front of me, forming a barrier between the pulsating crowd and me. People threatened to beat him too. You can't support a thief. Then he said, wait, I want to pay for this kid. What did he steal? Nobody answered. Then a young man behind me shouted with menace, mango! And the man asked again, how many mangoes did he steal? Nobody answered. He insisted, who did he steal the mango from? People called for the vendor. She came over slowly from her spot over the sideline, and he asked how many mangoes had he stolen. One, came the answer. I'm paying. If I pay, can you let the boy go for free? He implored the crowd. No, no, no. He has to be taught. He has to be taught discipline. He will do it again, and he will become a bigger thief, they shouted back. I was shaking. I still could not speak. I looked into his eyes and said, please don't leave me. If you leave me, I'm dead. I will pay more than one mango. This boy is bleeding. He's already been taught a lesson. We have to stop this. He is a child. Look at him. He is so small. You don't treat kids like this. The vendor held out her hand, and I couldn't see how much money the man put in with his clenched fist. He looked down at me and offered me his hand to pull myself up. The mob stepped back, and then everyone slowly began to return to whatever they had been doing. The excitement was over. My freedom was bought. Finally, I could speak, and I said, thank you so much. Thank you so much. May God bless you. The man held me up, and we walked away together, his arm loosely over my shoulder to help me walk, my limping body still racked with pain. I was certain several ribs in my nose were broken. He asked me why I had done it and said that stealing was bad. I told him I had not eaten for the past 2 days and was very hungry. He took me to a shop and bought me 3 packets of maize flour and even gave me 100 shillings. Who are you? I asked him incredulously. I'm a man of God, he said, before sending me my way. I thought about my mom and her prayers. I had read about the Bible. I had heard some sermons in the church. I had heard about the angels. Now, for sure, I believed in them. The angels' food didn't last long, and one morning I could not stand the hunger any longer. I was tired of hearing Jackie and Liz crying. I decided to cross the river and climb the hill to visit Langata in its missionary home, Missionaries of Charity. I took responsibility for our welfare, despite the irony that often I might be forbidden to eat even the food I brought home. There was a long line of hungry women from the slum at the missionary home waiting and pleading for the sisters with food. The sisters were so nice, but the line of too many people overwhelmed them. I was a little boy of 10, and the angry and hungry women clamoring for their place in line were squashing me. I could barely breathe. I was the only child who came to look for food for his family. The rest were grown women, mothers themselves. The women fought one another, but they had sympathy for me as I was the only child in line. As the sisters asked about my family and gave me the desperately needed food, some of the women neighbors went back home with nothing. While I carried my bag with Triumph, my mother and siblings were proud of me. Begging for food from the missionaries became a routine that I did once a week.
I think, Jen, up to there.
There's something about Kenyans that leadership is politics. I don't believe in that, right? So politics is not leadership, but I know you have to be part of politics, right? So for me, when I read about Dr. King, I was so inspired. Another guy from India that I love so much called Mahatma Gandhi. You know about him? He is so amazing. They did so much for their country than presidents. Something about you don't know this, and I went in South Africa, they told me, the ANC comrades, they say this, Mandela, that we all love, did not want to be president. Do you know that? The party forced him to be like Nelson, Madiba, all those American, Europeans, your name is everywhere. Help us build this country. And he said, I don't want, I'm an old man. And then he was forced, and he said, okay, only for one term. Then I'm done. So you can tell he didn't want to be president, right? So me, I also believe in that. And we forgot, and this makes me so sad, when we forgot women who are taking orphans in their homes, feeding them, and they have no job. People help each other in the community, in the villages, in the slums. People are doing amazing projects, and they're not politicians. So I think it's a high time for us to remember that you have to do good things for humanity without expecting to be elected. Done.
RJ on the beat, RJ on the mic, RJ on the beat, RJ on the mic, RJ on the beat, RJ on the mic, RJ on the beat, RJ on the mic. When I talk, I spit fire. You won't see me coming as I represent my city, my town. 1960 in the 254. RJ on the beat, RJ on the mic. Ati, RJ on the beat, RJ on the, RJ on the beat, RJ on the mic. So this is my first time reading on stage. I rarely read. Okay. So, what is hope? Hope is shining for those who have no light in them, brightening their lives by one act of kindness. Kindness that the world will not give us directly. Words that change to action. Action that bears fruit. Fruit that gives birth to a nation. SHOFCO. That shining hope for our community. So I'm doing a piece that it's called The Heart of a Mother. It amplifies the hope that all of us have. Sweet words are like honeycomb. Sweetness to the soul and healthy to the body. So, hush. Listen. Listen to her heartbeat as it penetrates through the cerebral medulla oblongata. As she speaks, as she moves, as she laughs. As she dances, listen. Her tongue, it's so gentle, it's like a tree of life. She is a rare species, so distinct that she cannot be compared by the sun, the comets, the meteors, nor the moon. She is a mother, a father, a believer, a protector, an actor. The list is so endless that even if you go to the abyss and back, trust you meet cannot be brought into completion. When she goes to the darkest places, she becomes a dim light, always giving out the little light that she has for her children, without thinking about the consequences of her action, that she will be left with no other light. This woman is so unique that the only thing she requires in life is to be respected, honored, and adored. To be set up as a seal in our hearts, upon our arms, because no problem can wash away the love for our children, neither floods drown it away. Thank you.
Are you here to be happy or you're happy to be here? Both. Amazing, amazing. So I'm a Sheng spoken word artist. So kuna test ilifanyika 9 months before, akatokea kama result 9 months after. Daily. Life yake ilikuwa full of laughter. Until akakuwa teen. A young girl from Korokocho at 15. No identity. Akaanza kujitafuta. Dreams za kushika pesa, hata yeye kuwekwa mafuta. So alikuwa na dreams so big. So daily alikuwa anashinda kwa library akitafuta meaning ya life kwa dictionary. But kwake life ilikuwa imelose meaning. Daily akiamka kwa slums, mayouth walikuwa wanaangushwa na makarao. So life kwake ilikuwa lifeless. Akaomba tu Mungu, jobless. Juu hata na the holy book, ama youth bado wako jobless. So akalose vision, akakuwa blind. Akaturn kwa drugs, ikaanza kudrag life yake behind. So kwa hizi streets, ndaliona hadi madem hawana sauti nyororo wakidai yo mali ende chain. So wali abuse ikaingia kwa vein. Daily walikuwa in pain, walishindwa kuvumilia. Daily walikuwa nalia. Udema alikuwa na visions za ku on focus, but saizi concentrate ame lose focus. Beautiful girl, down to earth. Siku hizi Daily yako high, anashindana na jua kuwaka. Police brutality memstress. Jomona dreams zikizimwa, dreams zimekuwa shattered, dreams big enough to change country, dreams zinaweza move mountains, dreams zina shine bright, zinaweza shock watu wa KPLC. So I wish nimtake back to time police walikuwa na policy. Time justice haikuwa option. Akawish nimtake back time hata kukuwe na baridi to serve and protect, ndilikuwa police motto. Akawish nimtake back time pesa ilikuwa bubu. You say police station ni kama adoya fulani ya Njoroge, ni pesa uongea. I mean real talk, kama ile ya Tamima juu justice ili switch ikakuwa option. Police station ikakuwa corruption free zone na watu innocent wakajaza pre zone. Tukaena huru, amani na undugu kwa national anthem ikakosa reason. Maafisa wamejaza ufisadi. Mmekuwa money minded, mnatuchezea kadi na kwa traffic juu Christ ndio bread. Mna take advantage ya jam, mnaanza kukusanya za chai. Mnaitisha za tumbo na in real sense, mnaitisha za macho na in real sense ni tumbo inawasumbua. Mmekuwa sumbua. Wekeni kamera zenyu poa zeche kutuchomea picha. Niko na fact kama preacher, tofauti ya polisi na mwizi ni uniform. Simsare. Kwa media kesi zenyu zimekuwa mob kuliko justice. I think society imefika menopause. That's why wana to play. Police brutality. Innocent souls zimekuwa laid. Na si ati niko na kierehere kama admin. Ni venye hizo actions zenyu ndo zimekuwa mean. I mean, mumeconfuse vijana na illegal structures. Juu nikiangalia right, left na center, ni vijana wanaangushwa. So karao, najua wamekunickname beast, but that should not be a reason ya kufist on innocent souls. Najua ghetto ni hotspot, vijana daily kuwa high. Na nyinyi mna maintain law and order. You are to serve and protect. Same na serve mnakula na mtaki to protest. Mmetuka kwa test of faith, tunaishi na imani. Mnatutreat kama wezi na kuiba tuwezi. So karao, shoot to kill isikuwe trend. Juni vijana wengi wameend up dead na vijana ndio leaders of tomorrow. So si cut their life short with just a gunshot. Karao, naongelea watu wana sauti. Nisiposema nani atasema? Naongelea watu muliend life zao bila utu, then you call that utu. Mishi kwa wote. Thank you guys, that was my time.
I'll do a song. Talk to the spirit. Talk to the African spirit. I'll see you. Orieti be. Orieti be. Orieti be. Anyore. Anyore. Sis mi asinyanyisa. Nanjero kukaisaya Nanjero kukaisaya Nanjero kukaisaya Anyore anyore. Wenyene bunyore, wenyene bunyore, wenyene bunyore, wenyene bunyore, wenyene bunyore, wenyene bunyore, ebusihare. All my enemies are suffering. Hey, all their plans are scatter. All my enemies are, I can't hear you, come on. All my enemies are suffering. Hey, all their plans are scatter. All my enemies are suffering. Proud of you, my brother. Thank you very much.